right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. To begin with, my name is Paige Denkin. I am an account manager at Nextiny Marketing.
And I'm Isabella Amarez. I'm also an account manager at Nextiny Marketing.
So, we are here to give you an introductory view into the world of HubSpot campaigns and how you can quickly and easily set up a campaign to better organize and track your assets.
Mhm.
So, in short, HubSpot campaigns are a group of related marketing assets and content under a certain marketing campaign. Associating marketing assets and content in HubSpot to a campaign allows you to measure the effectiveness of your collective marketing efforts. But let's talk about it in more detail and then help you prepare for your first or upcoming campaign while explaining how to use the HubSpot campaign tool in a beneficial way. First, let's define a traditional marketing campaign so we can better understand how it differs from the HubSpot campaign tool. One way people traditionally think of campaigns is maybe on a larger scope, a forward facing project, something really big, like maybe the Got Milk campaign or this season's newest line of your favorite skincare products, and all the accompanying marketing materials that you'll see through your email, commercials, or on social media. Traditionally, it's a structure or a checklist of what you need for your message. This usually includes assets like a customized landing page, radio ads, commercials on streaming services, targeted social media posts, and thoughtful emails. The HubSpot campaign tool takes the traditional definition to the next level by offering organizational tools and analytical data regarding the performance of any campaign. So instead of scrolling through your HubSpot marketing email tool or searching all of your landing pages for the individual campaign assets, you can use this HubSpot campaign tool to review all of the assets for a specific campaign that you're working on. Consider it like a really large folder that houses all of your campaign assets while also showing you important data regarding the performance of those assets. To access the HubSpot campaign tool, you'll first navigate to the marketing dropdown on your HubSpot portal and click campaigns. This is where you will access all of your HubSpot campaigns. You can adjust your view to see campaigns by owner, when they're set to start, and many other filter options, which is a pretty common occurrence for HubSpot. From here, though, you can see all of your existing campaigns, review their performance, and track the data of their process. This is also where you can create a brand new campaign. Isabella will review this in next in much greater detail, but by clicking the orange Create Campaign button, you can quickly give your campaign a name and begin assigning assets to that specific campaign. For context, this is a blank example of the screen and prompt that you'll see when you begin to create a campaign process. There's currently two ways to build a campaign. The most common way is to build a campaign by scratch, as seen on the right side. This is where you will be asked to fill out simple form fields such as campaign name, owner, and date, and this will quickly allow you to create your campaign. But for some users, there is a beta option, and you might have access to the new feature that's still being tested, campaign templates. This tool was created to help guide users through building very specific campaigns with very definable goals. When using this HubSpot campaign tool to track basic data and keep assets organized, there's absolutely no fault in keeping the information short and sweet. As long as there is a logical entry in the campaign name field, you can begin assigning assets to this campaign immediately. When designing assets such as emails and landing pages, you'll often see this campaign feature under the settings section. This is where you can select what campaign the assets should be assigned to. Once you assign it, you can go back to your HubSpot campaign tool and view all of your campaigns and now see that these assets are visible under their assigned campaign. So once you begin creating those campaigns and you go back to your HubSpot campaign tool, this is what you'll see, kind of an ongoing list of your campaigns. But once you click into any of those campaigns, you can now see all of the assets assigned to that campaign, along with important information and live metrics needed to track the progress and better create performing campaigns. So now that we've reviewed the traditional definition of a marketing campaign, where to find your HubSpot campaigns, and the general setup and functionality of the tool, Isabella will speak more about defining your campaign goals within your company and within the tool.
Okay, so the same way that we had to define HubSpot campaigns versus traditional marketing campaigns, let's dive in and define HubSpot goals versus traditional marketing goals. So, HubSpot campaign goals can be as broad or specific as you need. Utilizing this is a great way for you to define the structure of your campaign and help remind you of the reasoning behind the campaign in the first place. So, this is where you would create your campaign. You can see here that you're not beholden to a specific goal structure. Your goal can look different for each campaign, and it can even be blank if the purpose of your campaign is really just to better organize your assets. So, don't feel like you have to run small, specific campaigns to accomplish your goal. Don't be afraid to be creative and think outside the box. Think big. HubSpot is capable of so much, and it's a powerful tool that we really encourage you to explore. You saw in the previous slide that as part of your initial campaign setup, you're prompted to establish a goal. If you have a goal in mind for your campaign, it's important to tie that goal to the campaign as you're setting it up. A campaign can easily have multiple assets attached to it, like Paige was just describing, and it can often feel overwhelming. So, knowing the end goal and working backwards from there can really help you conceptualize the small, actionable steps needed to create the proper assets for your campaign. So now that you know what you want to accomplish with your campaign, it's time to prepare your brand to be a forward facing entity.
Campaigns are typically long term projects, but there are things that can be accomplished now to give you immediate wins in certain areas and prepare you for continued campaign success. Your campaign does not start on your launch date. So let that sink in a little bit because if you don't have a strong foundation, bringing attention to your brand through marketing campaign efforts could potentially do you a disservice. All of your assets will link back to your overall brand. So, how do you ensure your brand is ready for your campaign? While you work with your campaign team or take the appropriate time to conceptualize your campaign message and assets, there's actionable steps that you can take now to achieve what we call quick wins. This is where you push your brand or project forward with simple tasks that can otherwise seem tedious, but in this instance, enjoy the serotonin boost from crossing those quick wins off of your to do list. Before you launch or before your next campaign, these are some things to consider to tackle now. Is your website design consistent with your brand? Take the time to review your website. Look for errors, typos, areas for keyword optimization. Ensure there's consistent design elements throughout, like text size or branded fonts. Is your site optimized for mobile viewing? Always view your work on a mobile device for the best real time example. Are you only using one H1 per page? This is a quick thing that you can do to make sure that your website is SEO friendly and you start practicing those important habits. Now, is your website ADA compliant? At Nextiny, we use a tool called Userway Widget. This has the option to adjust screen contrast, text sizing, and more to ensure that your site is user friendly. Not only do you want to be prepared for any diverse group of people that may be viewing your content, but this will also help your SEO ranking. You should always be concerned with the health of your contact database, but I promise it's much easier to accomplish that now than before you start heavily promoting your campaigns and growing your contacts. Review your database, check for bounce rates, invalid email addresses, or any other inconsistencies that could damage the health of your contacts or even cost you money over time. A lot of HubSpot accounts are limited as to how many people exist within the database. And if some of those accounts have misspellings or are bouncing or just inactive accounts, you're quite literally wasting valuable time and money. The major steps for any company the first major step, sorry, is definitely gaining trust within your potential customers. So what are you currently offering your community? We utilize a concept called they ask you answer, which helps us take a step back from our thoughts and focus on the needs and wants of our clients and customers. So do they have important questions? Offering a blog with visually engaging content that answers their questions could be a great start. Could they benefit from an informational guide? Consider making a resource page with downloadable offers so they can begin to trust you and whatever you seem to be offering them at this time. You can gain contact information to further engage with nurturing efforts like a newsletter. Have a sign up form anywhere you can and start sending your community valuable information so you can stay top of mind and continue to gain their trust. Not sure where to start? What questions are most often asked? What topics do you consider yourself a professional in? If you were in your customer's shoes, what content would you want? What content would hold the greatest value to you? What can you offer them now? This is an example of a guide that an example of a full page of guides that one of our clients offers their database. These resources can be made available behind a gated wall, so they need to sign up for your newsletter or enter their email address to gain access to this content. So now you're able to offer them valuable content and continue nurturing them in an authentic way. So when you feel comfortable, confident, and proud of your brand and the content you're displaying to the world, then it's time to prepare your campaign and craft the perfect campaign timeline.
So now that you know that your contacts are healthy, your branding is consistent, and your website is providing valuable content, you're ready to start creating your campaign. Having a healthy database is important, but is the campaign you're sending applicable to everyone? Consider creating a list to target contacts who will resonate with the campaign and avoid sending spammy messages to other people. Now, even with utilizing a targeted list, it's still important to make sure that your emails are well converting. A few best practices we'd like to recommend when creating a powerful email. Make sure that all of the images in your email link back to something intentional on your website. Double check that your logo is at the top of your email and linked to your homepage. Include a CTA button at the bottom of your email and try to tie it to the overall message of the email. To make your email feel more personalized, you could adjust your from name to be person name from company. So, for example, Isabella from Nextiny Marketing. This will help the recipient feel a more personal connection to both you and your brand. Last but not least, make sure your subject line is interesting and engaging. Remember, it's the first thing that your recipient will see, so really utilize this opportunity to pique their interest. It's proven that people respond better to emails sent with a personable tone. So, especially when sending automated follow up emails, you want to make sure the email does not sound overly generic or robotic whenever possible. So, we like to utilize personalization tokens in these kinds of cases to remind the readers that we see them as people and not just a number on a contact list. Emails you may want to consider including in your campaign would be follow up emails for any form submissions, introductory or informational emails, and friendly reminders before an event, webinar, or product launch. Based on the previous slide, you've created a website you're proud of, but the information on your homepage might not necessarily be the content that you want to lead your subscribers to. Using HubSpot landing pages, you can create one off pages that will represent the content needed for your campaign. Landing pages can all look different and they can have multiple uses, but some landing page examples could include housing sign-up forms, webinar logistics, gated content, or strong pillar pages that offer valuable information. So now that we have our email and landing page set up, let's consider how we're engaging with our contacts and where there may be room for automation. We use HubSpot workflows to help pace out the time in between nurturing emails. So, like we said before, think big. Workflows are really capable of so much. So, this is just really one of the core reasons for using it as part of HubSpot campaigns, but we encourage you to further explore them and make them work for you. Workflow examples could include an automated follow up for someone when they fill out a form or scheduled reminders for an upcoming event. So, go back and utilize the HubSpot list that you previously created to produce intentional workflows that interact with specific contacts in your database. Everyone in your database may not need to be informed about an upcoming webinar, for example, but for those contacts who have registered, it could be incredibly valuable to place them in a list and then tie that list into your webinar reminder workflow, as an example. Once your campaign has ended, if it's an open ended campaign without a date, there's really no reason to not continue nurturing those contacts. So, a few questions to ask yourself. Is there an opportunity to follow up with this audience regarding the same or similar content that they've already shown interest in? For example, would they be interested in attending future webinars? Would you like to follow up with them to ask for an honest review or survey after your event? Review the data after your campaign has concluded, including email open rates, landing page form submissions, and event attendance to find areas where you can adjust and better improve your campaign. So, all the information that we just went through was great and helpful, we hope. But when do you do those things? So, by when do all these items need to be completed in the grand scheme of your campaign? So, let's get into it. This is an example of everything we spoke about in a timeline that we generally use. You can see that as part of the pre campaign items, we have healthy contacts, landing page build, create powerful emails, personable follow up experience, and intentional workflows. So, again, you want to make sure that your database is healthy and cleaned up. Landing page build, you want to have that already set up before the launch of your campaign. The same thing with your powerful emails. Let's put together our emails beforehand. Let's review them and really tie them up so that they're ready to go for campaign launch. Same thing with your follow up experiences. You want to tweak them and you want to tie them to each form that you're going to be applying them to make sure that they're all ready to go. Intentional workflows, same thing. You don't have to even turn your workflow on until the start of your campaign if you want, but have it all set up and ready to go so that once campaign launch, you don't have to worry about it. Live campaign. So now our campaign has launched. What are we doing? So you want to make sure that you're ongoing, like you're monitoring your performance on an ongoing basis because it is going to vary and you want to make sure things are running smoothly. So, same thing with the second point. So, be vigilant because mistakes do happen. The best we can do is catch them and fix them. Then, as part of our post campaign items, we have campaign follow up emails, which, for example, using the webinar example again, could be a thank you for attending our webinar example, and here is a recording of our webinar. Then you want to find opportunities for future nurturing. So let's try to find other ways to engage these same people who have already indicated interest in similar topics like this and bring them back in the future. Then finally, listen to the data. We want to make sure that you're empowered and you know how to go back and look at the data, look how everything is performing to continuously get better. So we hope this inside look at our general campaign timeline will help you create a successful campaign timeline for yourself. So now that we're already done, what do you do once you've reached the campaign end?
For continued success, remember that your role does not end when the campaign ends. Learn from past campaigns and make the changes needed to grow through the utilization of HubSpot. No matter the structure of your organization, at the end of the day, you're the only one who can truly hold yourself accountable for not only successfully producing this campaign, but learning from your experiences and adjusting your tactics accordingly. Your campaigns and the data it creates will continuously go through ups and downs, but it's up to you to listen to the data and translate it into actionable tasks for growth. We know it can feel overwhelming. Not only does it tend to feel just unnecessarily stressful, but there are a lot of moving parts in a campaign, which can lead to lack of organization and just burnout. But breaking them down into smaller, actionable steps will help you feel more confident creating a campaign that you're proud of. Remember, work backwards. When you know your goal, as simple or as complex as it may be, you can begin working backwards and seeing the path that you need to take to hit those specific goals. So, something we remind ourselves at Nextiny is that it's not necessarily life or death. No matter who your client is or who your contacts are, they are people, as are you, and as is your team. So, doing your best is really all that we can do. But this is why it's important to watch your data. Use the HubSpot campaign tools to oversee the progress. Watch for errors and make those proper adjustments. Hold yourself accountable and be present for the entire length of your campaign. HubSpot is your best friend. Rely on the data provided by HubSpot's tools to continue improving your methods and elevating your campaigns. So, after all of that, we think that you are ready to start launching campaigns that you're incredibly proud of, that you know how to track the data, and that you're able to use all of that information to create stronger campaigns and just a stronger business, something that you're proud of and that you are able to track and then recreate. You can have an amazing, successful campaign, but if you don't know how it worked out that way and you can't replicate it, what was the point? And that's pretty much what HubSpot is for. Enjoy the data, it's there for you. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just open it up to questions now. I see that there's been a lot going on in the chat since we've been presenting. Okay. Yeah, so the recording will be available to everyone. There will be an email sent out. Does anyone have any other questions? Any other, if you want to share a campaign that you're working on and maybe get some feedback on it, feel free to drop it in the chat.
I love the conversation that I see, though. I see that people are using it in such different ways, which is cool because where we come from, just as a marketing agency and working with these individual clients, it's going to look very different than what you're doing with your own personal brands. From I'm seeing product lines to let's see, just understanding the overall traction of your campaigns. It's going to differ from person to person. And I think that's kind of the magic of it. And again, why we kept saying think big and mentioning
Mm.
how much HubSpot is capable of. But we can say one thing and it could resonate with some people, or maybe it will trigger an idea or a thought of how you can utilize this campaign tool for different purposes that will benefit your brand and what you do. So it'll be different for everybody and everyone's story is different, but understanding, I guess, the tool that you have in your hands and how to utilize it will help you feel a little bit more confident doing something unique and something that you're proud of.
So true. So, Diana, I see that you asked, do other companies still struggle to create new content?
Hmm. I think that's a good question.
It's a very good question. Um,
I think there's constantly new ways to consider how to create content. Not only the type of content that you're coming out with, like from all the different social media platforms and all the different things that they require, but then also um, you can create blog posts all day about stuff that you think are really important and topics that you really like, and then you feel burnt out and you've said all these things that you want to say. If you feel that you've gotten to that roadblock, I would suggest the techniques that we use with the they ask you answer method, where you might think that you've provided all this great information and all this valuable stuff, but do your customers see it as valuable? Are they answering the questions that they are specifically asking? And if they are, maybe it's time to start asking new questions or opening it up to new people or just thinking a little bit outside of the box. But there will definitely come a time where you feel like you've created all the content there is to create and that it's all being replicated by other people and it's hard to be innovative and new. But I think if you just stop and you listen to your customer base and what they truly want, you'll find new ways to answer them. And then if you don't have new content, you can always optimize old content. So if there's some blogs that have performed really well in the past and then maybe they're seasonal or just a good topic, then you can edit it, you can repost it, you can add new backlinks, you can update the images, you can take the time that you have where you feel like I have no content to make and instead put that effort towards past content and kind of revamping it for today.
that's a great point. That's a great point. And yeah, definitely something that we utilize a lot at Nextiny is just kind of, really great performing blogs. Let's try to find ways to improve them and make them work even better for the next, few years or what have you, so that they can continue bringing in new leads to the site.
Yeah, we find a lot of our seasonal blogs are really, they gain a lot of traction, obviously, during their high season times. But if we weren't updating it with new content, it wouldn't have that same traction. So
Mhm.
a lot of people here in Florida, like maybe where are you going to the beach? But maybe this year there was a hurricane and there's different places to go and things to consider. So updating just that generic content that you think is just out there and kind of evergreen and you don't have to look at it, there are ways to update it and make it more powerful. Good, Diane. I'm glad those ideas are helpful.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, Kara says sometimes if you're in a very technical industry and there are people in your team who are content gatekeepers, starting with video for your content and turning it into written content next may be the way to go. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's perfect. Because video is really, I mean, the stats are there and it's proven that video is definitely something that we should all be
Yes.
working towards and utilizing. So I guess if yeah, if the content feels a little lackluster or you're not sure where to go with it, what is your really well performing content? Can you make that into a video or vice versa? Can you create these really powerful videos and then create strong pillar pages to support them? There's different ways to look at it.
Mm, awesome. Any other questions? Again, any if you guys want to, run a campaign that you're working on by us, if you want to maybe just kind of have like a brainstorming session, any specific question, anything.
If there's no more follow-up questions right now, that's fine, but you will get a follow-up email from us, which I guess now is a great time to just say, "Look at that beautiful example of our webinar campaign," knowing that we have teammates that will ensure that there are follow-ups that go out after this that will
Mhm.
include video recordings that will give you the option to ask further questions or contact our team, whatever it may be, but I think that's yeah, that's a real life example of how we
Mhm.
practice what we preach, so
We can give everyone a couple minutes, but before we sign off, thank you so much for joining our webinar or our hug today. We're so excited to be able to just kind of dive through campaigns with you all. And yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure going through all of this. This was really fun. Let me see. Okay, we can give everyone another minute or two, and then we can just go ahead and close it out. And then, like Paige said, if you have any other follow up questions, if something comes to mind later on in the day, you can always reach out. You can always send us an email, and we'll get back to you.
Diane is ready to go out for a drink. I'm with you, Diane. I see.
Great ideas.
I see. It is nice being able to have conversations in person, and we get that. So,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
who knows what the future would look like, but
Mhm.
just knowing that you're saying that you're local and that there's people out there that we could always speak to, that's really fun. Oh, fun, James, of course. I mean, this tool, so in case you don't see the chat, James is just mentioning how this could be useful for an upcoming website project, but over the section where you can choose the campaign that it's attached to is available on pretty much every asset that you're going to build through HubSpot. So whether it's building website projects or James, anything in the future, all of these marketing efforts can be categorized and properly organized just to help not only us ensure that we're doing our best ability and that you are doing your best ability for your clients or your job, but also that you feel really confident, that you know that everything is organized, that you understand that we can see this data and we can make the correct decisions and judgments based off that, and we're just not kind of running around and doing things as we see fit. We really are looking at the data and seeing how HubSpot seeing the information that HubSpot can provide us and then creating the proper timeline for you and your campaign or your website project or whatever it is.